Philadelphia isn't just where history happened. It's a city where people decided history, culture, fandom, and everyday memories are worth saving. Welcome to Pop Culture Passport, your ultimate guide to quirky and cool destinations across the US. I'm your host, Beth Scalacci, aka the Roman Yeti, here to help you dive into the world of theme parks, uncover film and TV locations, and explore quirky museums, roadside attractions, and legendary venues that capture the heart and soul of this unique country. So grab your pop culture passport and let's discover destinations that resonate with your interest, not just with what's trending on social media. Are you ready? Let's roam! Today, we are heading to the greater Philadelphia area. Now, most people, when they think Philly and they visit Philly, they go for the big history, the Liberty Bell, Independence Hall, and Betsy Ross's house. But Greater Philly is where collectors, movie lovers, and fans have spent decades protecting the weird and wonderful pieces of history. So, if you're coming for the World Cup, these side quests will show you a different side of the city, one built not just on what Philly created first, but on what it cared about to keep. Now, our first stop isn't a grand hall downtown. To find the heart of Philly's fan driven soul, you're going to drive about 25 minutes north to a town called Ambler. You're looking for a small office park tucked behind a Wawa, which, let's be honest, is the most Philly landmark I could give you. Now, what you're gonna find there is the Stoogium, and yes, it rhymes with museum. And yes, I'm gonna probably trip over it the rest of this conversation. It's the world's first and only museum dedicated to the Three Stooges, but it wasn't built by a studio. It was built by one man, Gary Lassen. Now, Gary didn't just like the Stooges, he married into the legacy, literally, when he married Larry Fine's great niece. Now, over the decades, his private stash has grown to a staggering 100,000 piece archive of the Three Stooges. Now, because the Stooges were a quintessential working class hero, they were considered lowbrow by the elite, but they were the pioneers of the transition to film. They were so influential that Adolf Hitler actually put them on his personal death list after they mocked him in the 1940s short, You Nazi Spy. When you walk through these three floors, you aren't seeing plastic replicas. You're seeing Shemp's actual 1917 Army discharge papers, which, in a very stooge twist, mention his battle with bedwetting. And you see the flying submarine tank from the Three Stooges in orbit. Now, this is history that was saved because a fan decided it was too important to let the studios throw it away. Now, this museum is only open by an appointment and it's never open on the weekends. So if you are here for the Cup or any other time, please plan accordingly and book your 2 hour slot on a weekday. You probably want to do it well in advance, depending on what time of year you're traveling. So our next stop is going to take us to Oaks, Pennsylvania, and it's to a place that truly defines the word overwhelming, but in the best way possible. It's called the American Treasure Tour, and it is housed in a 100,000 square foot former tire factory. Now, usually, we walk around to see these kinds of sites, right? No, not here. You can't. The collection is so massive that the only way to see it is by tram. Yes, I said tram. You hop into open air trolley and you disappear into the aisles of a warehouse that make you feel a little bit like you're in the middle of the final scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark. That is, if Indiana Jones had a passion for neon sign and carousel horses. This isn't a museum curated by committee. This is the 50-year obsession of a private collector who wanted to save the disposable, quote unquote, disposable parts of the American dream. Now we're talking about thousands of pieces of mid-century advertising, vintage signage, and mechanical music. When the tram stops, your guide might flip a switch on a massive two-story tall Wurlitzer band organ. These were the loudspeakers of the early 1900 amusement parks. When it starts playing, the sheer mechanical force of the pipes and drums is a physical experience. It's the sound of a summer day in 1925, preserved in a tire factory outside Philly in 2026. You'll see a sea of 1950s carousels, a forest of neon gas station signs, and even a hall of celebrity statues that includes everything from Elvis to the Blues Brothers. It's a colorful, noisy reminder of what we have considered trash. The posters on the wall, the signs on the road is actually like the visual language and history of our lives. Now, because this is located very near Valley Forge, I'm gonna give this a little side quest to a history lesson. You can go see where our country was born and fought for in the morning, and then in the afternoon you can get on the tram schedule. So just be sure to check the schedule um, so you don't get left behind. Our next stop is in Phoenixville, which is a town that has literally built its modern identity around a 1958 horror movie, and that horror movie is The Blob. We're heading now to Colonial Theater in Phoenixville. Now, the theater opened in 1903, a time when Henry Houdini was walking the boards here, and it became immortal, though, in 1958 when a young Steve McQueen watched a gelatinous red mass ooze into the projection booth. In the 1990s, this theater was almost a memory. It had been carved up, used as a warehouse, even a furniture store. But the community realized that if they lost the Colonial, they lost the heart of Bridge Street. They didn't just restore the plaster and the marquee, they embraced the monster. So now every summer they host Blobfest. It is a 3-day celebration of 50s sci-fi, but the golden ticket for the day for the event is the running of the blobs. Hundreds of fans pack into the original 1903 auditorium, wait for the screen to show the blob entering the theater, and then, on cue, they scream and stampede out the front door onto the street. It's a 68-year-old movie scene that just comes to life every single year at Blobfest. When you walk into that lobby today, you're standing in a nonprofit art center that only exists because the people of Phoenixville decided that a shared experience in the dark was worth more than another parking lot. Now, as we finish up, we have to end at the altar of probably the most famous Philadelphian who never actually lived, and that's Rocky Balboa. You know the statue I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the 72 stone steps leading up to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. But the story of how the statue got there does have a little bit of drama to it. So, when Sylvester Stallone first gifted the bronze Rocky statue to the city, the art elite didn't want it. They called it a movie prop and claimed it wasn't real art. They actually kicked Rocky out. For years, he was exiled to the sports complex down the street. But the people of Philadelphia, no, they refused to let it go. They saw themselves in that statue, the underdog who doesn't necessarily win the fight, but goes the distance. Eventually, the city blinked. In 2006, Rocky returned to his rightful place at the foot of the museum. It's a reminder that in Philly, the culture isn't just what's inside the gold frames in the gallery, it's what's happening on the street. So when you visit, don't just take a selfie with the statue and leave. I mean, do that, but don't just do that. You have to run or walk the steps, and when you reach that top, look down. You'll see two bronze footprints embedded in the concrete, and they're modeled after Stallone's own sneakers. So when you stand in them and look out over the Benjamin Franklin Parkway towards City Hall, you aren't just looking at a view, you're standing in the exact spot where a fictional character helped a real city find its grit. After you've run the steps, shadowboxed the air, and taken that victory photo overlooking the parkway, there's one more piece of the city's culture you're almost guaranteed to encounter: the food. Let's start with the cheesesteak. I mean, we have to start with the cheesesteak, right? If you've ever seen someone order one in Philly, you may hear the phrase whiz wit. Now, that is shorthand for cheese whiz with onions. Now here's the thing. The famous rivalry you'll hear about is Pat and Gino's gets all the attention from visitors. But listen, the locals will tell you their favorite cheesesteak is someplace entirely different. So, if you really want the best experience, ask someone who lives there where they go. And Philly people have strong opinions about their cheesesteaks, so you'll probably get a very passionate recommendation. You'll also get recommendations on how to have your cheesesteak. I am a Cheese Whiz fan. I love provolone as well, but I really like it with the Cheese Whiz. I can, you know, go with the onions. I usually go with onions, but I can go without too. But don't be afraid of the Cheese Whiz. Give it a try. Another place worth visiting is Reading Terminal Market. This is one of the oldest public markets in the country, and it's housed in a massive 19th century train shed. And in the mid 20th century, most cities were tearing down their old markets to build shiny, new food courts. But Philly, nope, it cared enough to keep what they had. And thank goodness they did. It's a beautiful place. You've got Amish bakers from Lancaster County selling sourdough next to fourth generation Italian butchers and even Thai street food vendors. It's really a cool place to check out. Um, you know, check it out, grab your favorite kind of food. And finally, I am going to encourage you to find a Philly soft pretzel. Now, don't be confused with the kind that you get in a mall at a different state. A real Philly pretzel is shaped like a figure eight. It's dense, it's a little chewier, and it's usually delivered in a brown paper bag. It was the original on the go snack for factory workers of the 1800s, and today you can still find them in bakeries, street carts, and even convenience stores. Um, for generations, they've been the city's go-to grab and go snack. Um, I remember getting these coming out of Phillies games. My dad and I would ride the train, from Central Pennsylvania to Philly, and I would remember them being outside after the end of the game. And it's so if you are at the World Cup and you're walking out of the stadium, grab one for the walk back to your hotel. It's definitely worth it. But in Philly, food isn't just fuel, it's an identity. And so, like I said, when you're here at the World Cup, don't just eat at the stadium, eat outside. Get out and stand in line at a window, learn the shorthand, and taste the history that the city has refused to get rid of. Um, Philly isn't just a city that saves big history, as we learned today. It saves everyday memories in museums, in theaters, in inventions and recipes, passed down through neighborhoods and families. And sometimes the best way to understand a place isn't just through what it built first, but what it has cared enough to keep and maintain. And with that, we add another stamp to our pop culture passport. I hope this episode inspires you to get out and explore all that is quirky and cool, even in your own backyard. Follow, download, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Tell a friend and leave a review if you like what we're doing. It really helps the show to grow. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just search for The Roaming Yeti. Keep roaming and finding your